The average person is said to spend 15 minutes in the bathroom. Why not take advantage of that time and learn something new? Presenting the 15-minute podcast on weird facts, crazy details, and funny particulars that you'll be able to enjoy while you're taking on your free time. Welcome to This Shit with Sam Butler. Welcome to another episode of This Shit podcast. I have a very special guest, a good friend of mine. You guys have seen him on other episodes, but he's here with me today. A big welcome to my friend, Eduardo Espinosa. How you doing, Lolo? We call him Lolo. That's his nickname in Spanish. But how are you doing, man?
I'm doing all right.
Thank you for coming back, man. I appreciate it. I know you work here. But it's always a pleasure having you. Like we mentioned before, we're going to talk about something interesting, something you can watch in 15 minutes while you're sitting on the can or while you're doing other things. That's okay too. But I want to thank a shout out to all those guys, everybody that listens to the podcast in English. I get a lot of comments on my YouTube saying, hey, thank you for this. This helps me with my English. I'm also getting a lot of comments from people who teach English.
Oh, that's nice.
And they're saying, hey, this is great. It's conversational English. It helps my students. So
the Duolingo owl can suck it.
Yeah. But I like Duolingo, actually. I'm trying to pick up like French and Italian at the same time. It's a little confusing, but it's free. So do it, But thank you guys for tuning in. Shout out to you guys. I wanted to talk about something that a lot of people already know about. It's a topic, but there's some interesting details about this particular person I found interesting. Obviously, I'm a fan. I'm a Texan, so it's one of those things. He's not from Texas, but he's a pretty important person in Texas. And well, we're going to talk about Samuel Colt.
All right.
Right.
So he's either a horse or he invented the gun.
He invented the gun. He actually invented the revolver.
The revolver. Okay.
Yeah, the revolver.
So it
spins.
That's why it's a revolver.
Think about this.
It took me. I'm ashamed to say this, but it took me a really long time to figure out that revolver is because
it revolves.
It revolves. I was like, that makes sense.
Well, I don't find it weird at all. I know you. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're like the gentlest dude I know. It's like you wouldn't hurt anything. So it doesn't.
I mean, not physically.
Not physically. I mean, you can be brutal on people's feelings. I know that. I've seen it happen. But you're one of those guys that's not going. I mean, and that's awesome. That's
I use my words.
Yeah, they cut sharper than
I weaponize them sometimes.
But in today's world, I mean, I had a kid tell me the other day he just got a tacky wacky. I was like, "What the hell is a tacky wacky?" He goes, "Duh, it's a tactical shotgun." And and you're going like, "Wait, what?" A 10-year-old kid. I'm like, "Where are you learning this stuff?" I play Fortnite. And you're going like, "Whoa." He goes, "Yeah, they used to have snipers. They got rid of the snipers, but man, I was good at sniping." You're just going like, "Dude, you're 10. Well, yeah. No, don't go to school now." It's like, but it's crazy, But Samuel Colt is known for inventing the revolver, which is the cowboy gun, 5 shots. Well, that changed the world. Because up until that point, you were reloading every single shot. You had to carry like 4 pistols, Mm-hmm. This guy took it from... And there was a previous model to the revolver. He wasn't the very first guy. There was a revolver maybe 20 years before he came up with the revolver.
Mm-hmm. So he was like the Steve Jobs of revolvers.
Yeah, he was like the Steve Jobs of revolvers. He claims that he actually was on a boat and he saw how the wheel on the boat was able to turn, but then lock into place. And you were able to turn it and lock it. And he thought, what if you could actually take a barrel and lock it, shoot the projectile, and then it turns again and you lock it.
Nice. So that's pretty. I mean, I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah. So he had some issues. Okay. Samuel Colt was a kid.
And he wanted to settle them. So that's why he invented the revolver.
Yeah. He, some of the, I'm trying to find the deal here. The fact, but he was into pyrotechnics.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That was something that he really enjoyed. And he actually, this was kind of the reason the whole thing came about. He produced his own version of the 4th of July fireworks. Okay. So he had a couple of things. The first thing is that he had a pretty practical mind. The second thing is he was into pyrotechnics, right? That was something that fascinated him. And the next thing about that is that he actually was a master of marketing.
Okay.
So that was one of the things about him. So as a teenager, he experimented with gunpowder and electricity. Those were the two things that he did.
Yeah, normal childhood, I guess.
Normal childhood, 1829, right? And while he was working in his father's textile factory in Ware, Massachusetts, he posted printed notices. Samuel Colt will blow a raft sky high on Ware Pond, July 4th, 1829. So,
I'd go see that.
What's that?
I'd go see that.
Yeah, exactly. He said, so using wire wrapped in tarred rope to connect an underwater explosive device to an onshore detonator, the experiment worked. So he blows this raft sky high, and the article said he drenched all the spectators that were dressed nice to go watch this happen in 1829.
You used to have to dress up to go see a raft being blown up.
You had to dress up for everything, but that was the thing. It's like, we're going to go see this thing. But that was like the beginning of his experimentation. He really experimented with wire. He was actually one of the guys that tried to pioneer wire. That's especially cool. Underwater wire. So tar and rope was one of the things that he did. He did the same thing. I think he accidentally blew up a school, like his schoolhouse, one of his schoolhouses.
Yeah. How American of him.
You know, and yeah, I know, it's right. It's like he was ahead of his time by like 200 years. But this got him in trouble. His dad got mad and he shipped him away to London. And that's when he's on this voyage that he's actually observing this go down. And that's when he took a stick and he hand carved a revolver, like his concept. When he comes back from London, he decides, I am going to get this made. So he goes and he sees gunsmiths, and he doesn't know how to make it necessarily, but he gets gunsmiths, finds out how much it's going to cost to develop his product. So what does he do? He the article says that I'm looking for the actual term.
Did he like raise money or something?
Yeah, he raised money, but he did it.
The 1800s version of Kickstarter.
Kind of. He was a huckster. That's what it said. He was a huckster. He spent 3 years traveling as a traveling huckster. Now, what this is an entertainer.
Okay.
So he would go to fairs and he'd go to carnivals, right? And what he would do is he would actually use laughing gas, and he would administer it to the audience for to the people for like money, and they'd all be laughing and they had a great time. And he used this money to generate enough income.
Yeah, because that's before it started being used as an anesthetic. That's what they did. You just this thing is pretty cool. Do you want to go get high and laugh a bit?
All I could think of when I was reading this was dudes like sitting around sucking the helium out of a balloon.
Yeah,
you know, and he made enough money with that to start his own firearms company, right? And so his first firearms company, he got a patent in 1836 for a revolver design, which improved upon the revolving flintlock already patented by Elisha Collier nearly 2 decades earlier. So his patent arms manufacturing company opened its doors in Patterson, New Jersey. The company saw scattered sales in Texas and Florida for the use in the Seminole War.
Even back then, right?
I'm telling you, it's a Texas thing. This guy was from New Hampshire, but Texas was buying. And the thing is, you have to understand that the early settlers of Texas, a lot of them were German. A lot of them came to settle the West, and they got here, and there was Comanches. There was
they were like, all of a sudden the people that live here
don't want us
here. Like, they're putting up a fight. We need something.
And so they moved in, they settled, but it was kind of there was a lot of open land, so it really didn't belong. I mean, there was a lot of Mexicans too, because technically it was still Mexico, you know. So there was a lot of people sharing the land, but it was a method of self-defense, you know. So they did good, but then he closed, you know. His business didn't make it. There was no real war going on. He didn't really get the sales. It was the Mexican-American War, that war that the U.S. had with Mexico, that really boosted the Colt sales.
Okay.
And it was the Texas Rangers that were like, thank you, because it was because of that gun that we felt like we could go all the way into Mexico.
Well, yeah, and it's also kind of iconic. Like when you think of a revolver, you think of cowboy hats, Rangers, horses.
Yeah. So the revolver changed the world. He really made money off the Mexican-American War, and then he also made money off of the Civil War. Right around that time, the Civil War kicked off, which was towards the end of his life. The Civil War started in 1858. He died in 1862.
Yeah, he got a good, retirement package.
It says he was worth $15 million back then.
Damn, that's a lot of money for 1800s.
Yeah, and of course, the classic Colt is, and we're not talking about the malt liquor, but it's the Colt 45, and it wasn't released till after a decade after Colt's death. So it was 1872 when the Colt, 1873, and that was the standard issue for the U.S. military.
All right. So
part of his problems was that he supplied weapons for both sides of the war.
Well, yeah, you're a businessman, and if you can.
Yeah, but he lived up north. He was a Yankee.
Okay.
He was selling guns to the South. He was considered a Southern sympathizer. So he kind of stopped doing that and made sure that he sells more guns to the
North. All right.
Yeah. But
the U.S. supplies weapons to their enemies as well. So
yeah, it's like
the American way. Come on,
don't even get me started. Let's talk about Benghazi. It's like I'll get real right now. No, but one of the things about him though that was unique that a lot of people might not know is that this was 100 years before Henry Ford. He actually adopted the assembly line.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's how ever since this thing kind of threw me off because I had always heard that the assembly line was Henry Ford's thing. But
it's one of those things that, there were early adoptions of it, and then Henry Ford made it like on a even bigger scale. And because the car changed the world so much.
It was a big deal, yeah. But, it was interesting to think that this guy actually manufactured guns using assembly line, which of course is a world practice even to this day. One of the things that he was really good about, self-promotion and marketing, like I mentioned earlier. So what he did, and I thought this was pretty awesome, he commissioned artist George Catlin, famous for his depictions of Native Americans and life in the West, to incorporate Colt revolvers into a dozen paintings, 6 of which were reproduced as mass-market lithographic prints.
That's influencer marketing.
Exactly.
Just tag me on this post.
Exactly.
Just hold the gun and be like, oh, well, all my followers have been asking, what kind of gun do I shoot?
Yeah, cool. That's exactly what he did.
Holy shit.
This was like 1820s,
Nice.
He depicted himself on horseback wielding one of Colt's revolving pistols to gun down buffaloes on the plains.
Okay.
Colt also hired authors to pen stories about his revolvers for magazine features and traveled the world to present heads of state with lavishly engraved gilded pistols.
Damn. That guy was really ahead of his time.
Yeah, he was, right? And then get this, the gifts were so good for his business, he presented an Ottoman sultan with a gold revolver. The Turks ordered 5,000 of his pistols.
Damn.
Right? So he was always building his brand. Colt even trademarked his sprawling signature. So even his signature was trademarked.
Holy shit, yeah. No, This guy was a marketing genius.
He was a marketing genius for the 1800s. He was doing stuff that we're doing right now on social media, you know. So I thought that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, Don Draper has nothing on this guy.
Nothing. So one of the things that is really interesting, well, a lot of the things that we talked about are really interesting about Samuel Colt. One of the things that he's known, there's a famous saying that says that God made all men, but Samuel Colt made them equal. You know, he was a great equalizer, and that legacy still lives on. His company still exists. That company was established. That company actually went bankrupt in 2015, but it was accepted in bankruptcy court, and it pulled itself out of bankruptcy by 2016.
Cool.
I believe that in 2020 it was actually sold to a Czech manufacturing company, like a Czechoslovakian, not like Czechs, but it was a Czechoslovakian gun manufacturer. I believe it's the CZ people that bought Colt.
You're the gun guy. I'll take your word for it.
So the brand lives on. It's ironically not American anymore. It's Czech. But that all happened because police departments started going more into the Smith & Wesson market, and it became a lot more competitive. But also they went into the Glock, which I am a Glock fan. And
what's the difference? Like the Glock is clip loaded?
Yeah. Colt has revolvers. That was the original guns, and they still had really good revolvers. There's another company called like Dan Wesson, which is also owned by the same company. Like a Dan Wesson revolver is like $3,000.
Damn.
Right. A Colt revolver is probably $600 to $800, depending on the revolver. If you get something really special, it might be $1,000, $1,200. Really good quality gun. Obviously, it's not what they were shooting in the 1800s, although you can still get pistols that are replicas. You can get pistols that still fire, cartridges, the Colt. But in 1911, a gun came out that is still super popular today, and it's called the 1911.
Okay.
Right? And this gun is a gun that takes a magazine, you rack the slide, and it shoots 45 caliber bullets.
Okay.
Now, this gun was used in World War I, used in World War II, and the thing about a 45 ACP round, or the round that you would fire with that, is that that's a pretty thick, big round. You can't fit that many bullets, and it's also a heavy gun. But it was still an Army issue. 45 is no joke. They still talk about it in all the Mexican music, La Escuadra. That's the gun that it is.
All right, I get it.
Right? That design is still good today. There's people that swear by the 1911. Colt's 1911s were great. Glock came out with a pistol that had a polymer frame.
So it's super light.
It's plastic.
Yeah.
Right? And when the Glock came out with a polymer frame, everybody said it wouldn't work. It was not going to be a good gun. So what Glock did is, with their Glock 17, they shot 1 million registered rounds with a Glock 17. The Glock 17 is a 9mm, 9x19, which if you're a gun guy, you know what that is. But the Glock 17 is like a legendary gun. Well, police departments love Glocks. Why? It's an Austrian design gun. That gun meets the NATO specs, and you can drop it in mud, pick it up, and fire it.
Cool.
It's like a Jeep. In if you had to look at not like the new Jeeps that are all girly and stuff, like the 1940s Jeep that was just a tough, simple machine that was made. Well, that's a Glock.
Cool.
Right? And even Glocks today, like if you buy a Glock, and this sounds like a Glock commercial now, but if you go buy a Glock, the trigger is crisp, and most Glocks kind of shoot like each other.
Okay, so there's not that much variation.
And I was on a flight, and there was an army colonel on the plane, and he was retired, but they had called him back to the Pentagon. I was flying to DC, and he goes, "I like Glock because any Glock you pick up, it's like picking up your own gun." He says, and in combat, that might happen. You might have to pick up somebody else's Glock. So I know a lot of the Army guys like them, although that's not necessarily the issued gun. But the Special Forces guys, especially, they like Glocks. Glock 19 is like one of the most popular ones because of the size of the frame. It's like a mid-size frame. It's not as big as the 17. So all of the police departments around the world, I see them here in Mexico. I'll see a cop and I'll look, and you can tell by the way the handle is, you can tell that's a Glock, right? And so you see a lot of Glocks here in Mexico with the cops.
So just the market changed and the Colts,
market changed, the technology changed. Now every manufacturer makes a polymer frame.
Okay.
Right? But Glock is like the ones that they were like had to prove themselves. So
cool.
And that's what changed. That's what changed with Colt. Colt, for a while, when it went bankrupt, we were all like, there's not going to be any more Colts. It's sad. But they're still around. So if you want a Colt, pick yourself up a Colt. Samuel Cotto.
I mean, it's not as easy here.
No, not in Mexico. That's
you have to smuggle one.
Yeah, that's why we did this episode in English. Don't tell anybody. Yeah, but it is Glock, and we could probably do a whole episode on Glock because that changed the world as well. That, like, they talk about certain weapons, like the AK-47 changed the world. And the Glock is one of those weapons, and of course the revolver is another one of those weapons. Guys, thank you very much. That's the end of our podcast. We went over a few minutes, but hopefully you're still here and you can still feel your legs. Yeah. But hey, thank you for joining me. I know this is not like one of your subjects, but I thought that you would really enjoy the geeky aspect of Samuel Colt. Yeah. So I appreciate that. And where can people find you on your social media?
I'm everywhere as at Ningún Eduardo.
Ningún Eduardo. I'm Tu Amigo Sam. That's TU Amigo Sam. Of course, Está Cagado Podcast on Spotify and platforms. And Los Cagadienses is our Facebook page. So go ahead and add us there. That's our group. That's where we talk shit. So you guys can talk about the shit. And we can talk shit. Upload your memes. Thank you very much. That's it for this episode. We'll catch you next time.